Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get-started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You could find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting just by emailing oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure to check out our Patreon. Put up a brand new content on Patreon each month. Plus, you can hear all the shows that we play here Monday to Friday on AM/FM radio without the ads, where we cut out the commercials, we cut out all the ads, 100% ad-free. You can check out our archives. You can find them at Spreaker.com. I do a live show on Spreaker solo by myself every Friday night, 8 p.m., just talking about what's going on in the week, what's on the news, any kind of investigations I'm working on at Spreaker.com, but it's free. And you go there and sign up for free. There's a chat room, and you get an email notification anytime we put up new content. Keep an eye out. I was interviewed on Monday by Crossroads Podcast. They're involved with the Epoch Times. Okay, so that's going to be airing shortly, and I'm talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Very excited today. I've been trying to get our guest today for quite a while. His name is Norman Pardo, and he was friends with O.J. Simpson and managed him for many, many years. He made a documentary film called Who Really Killed Nicole, and the book just came out, Simon & Schuster. It came out in book form. Now, you can find that either at whoreallykillednicole.com or ojtapes.com, because the guy's been filming himself with OJ for years, and he's putting up all his personal home movies with O.J. Simpson. Mr. Norman Pardo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been a short notice, too. We just started chatting yesterday.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, so tell us about yourself. Who is Norman Pardo?
Actually, I've been missing for the last 6 months. I was I was O.J. Simpson's former manager, and then we had the book deal, and that's when things went a little odd. I actually died back in March of last year, just before I signed the book deal. We actually signed the book deal in the hospital on the way to the operating room. So we've changed a lot of things in what I've been doing for business lately. Now I've got an investigation on who killed Norman.
Right.
My new job is to find out who killed me. It's a little odd that I died just before the book was to come out, and I'm going to find out who did it.
Well, wait a second, Norman. Do you think there was some kind of foul play, some kind of poisoning or something happened?
Yes.
Really?
Because they couldn't find anything wrong with me, and they say it was some sort of chemical.
Really? Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Whatever happened to me, nobody knows what happened to me, but all I know is I had a big party, a big event. Everybody, it was a who's event for the book, Who Really Killed Nicole. And there's a lot of people in the book that don't want it to come out. I mean, you've got the Kardashians, you've got OJ, you've got OJ. Sorry about that, but OJ actually had a hitman call me once.
Really?
Just as a threat. So yeah, there's all that.
Well, let's set up some foundation here. How did you first meet OJ and become involved with O.J. Simpson?
I used to own an airplane hangar. Actually, my company was Spider-Boy International. It's a .com. And we purchased a bunch of companies, and my attorney made me a little bet that I couldn't manage it. I couldn't. The bet was I told everybody I could promote anybody and anything at any time. And that's what started it. He brought me O.J. Simpson up there, and that's how it all started. He said, "How about O.J. Simpson?" And I'm like, "Wow, that's a preconceived murder. That's pretty tough." but let's do this.
And you were using OJ to promote.
That's how we started.
You were using OJ to promote your airline, your airline business.
Nope. Actually, what I was doing was putting him out there just to see what would happen if I put him out on tour, what the people's reaction would be to him and his reaction to the people. And then I filmed everything. That's the footage I have now that's coming out on ojtapes.com.
Gotcha. And I watched the film. Who really killed Nicole? And basically, it seems like you're taking him around to radio appearances and stuff like that. Were any of these like book signings or autograph signings or anything like that?
Actually, it was nightclub events, hip-hop events, and all sorts of different type of events.
Okay.
We were all over the East Coast, just doing different events, just having fun.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I was filming it just for...
No, when you're sitting in a car with OJ on these long trips from town to town, he's on the road, like the comics call it. You must have had a lot of time to talk and hang out together, late night motels, bars. When did the first when did it first come up, the topic of the death of Nicole and Ron Brown?
Well, that was before we ever started working together. I asked him if he killed all those people, and he said he didn't want to talk about it and let it go. So it started before I ever worked with him. And then I had my investigator do some research to find out, could he have done it? Because I didn't want to work with a murderer. And that's when that whole investigation started. So all while I had him out there on tour, all I was doing was getting information from everybody he knew about the murders.
And the people around him were talking to you freely about what they knew about the murders?
Oh, yeah. I got them on tape. That's what we did is I would tape them.
Okay. And in the film,
too. Getting it all down.
Yeah, you have some statements from a woman. She's talking about Dodi Fayed and all this kind of stuff like that. And she's an informant. You just describe her as an informant. But I don't believe I caught her name and her background and who she really is. How's she involved in all this?
She didn't want to give her name.
Gotcha.
But she was good friends with Nicole and OJ. She's still worried about the people killing her.
Now, is this a dangerous bunch that's around OJ?
Yes, very dangerous.
And why is that? What are they up to?
He enjoys being a godfather type figure. I guess that's the best way to put it. So he attracts that type of people.
Now, during this time, you're hanging around with OJ, and you take him to these appearances and stuff, and arranging these appearances. He knew you were filming him that time, right? Why did he think you were filming him?
For a documentary. I told him we were going to do a documentary, The Life of O.J. Simpson or some shit.
Okay, and he thought this was going to be a positive documentary?
I don't know what he thought. I don't even think it was looking positive when we first started.
When did you start changing your mind and become suspicious and felt that he was involved?
Pretty much from the beginning when he said, you don't want to know what happened, let it go.
So when you started looking into this, what did you find out?
It gets complicated. It's really hard to explain. You have to really watch the book and the movie. Well, it's chaos. They were all basically in doing something they shouldn't have been doing. There's no innocent people in that entire group.
And what were they doing? Was it drugs? Was it gambling? Was it counterfeit autographs? Counterfeit memorabilia? What were they up to?
Keep going. It's everything. They were doing pretty much everything you could do.
Right.
Anything and everything. It was just a group of people who were just out there doing whatever they wanted to do and didn't think they could get caught at it.
Yeah, that is so true.
One of them was a serial killer, and he was killing everybody he could, and he couldn't get caught because he was given plea deals to just leave town every time.
And for my audience that's familiar with all the different OJ theories, you're talking about Glenn Rogers.
Yes, he's in death row now for killing 70-something people he admitted to or something.
Right, and we talked off the air. He actually sent a letter, at least one letter, from the prison there where he admits to killing Nicole.
Yeah, he wants the credit. He's really angry that he's not getting credit for his best kill.
Now, I think most of the people who are familiar with the Glenn Rogers story and the theory of Glenn Rogers' involvement with the death of Nicole and Ron aren't aware of the nuance that you've brought to the table here, where it's your belief and your theory that O.J. actually hired Glenn Rogers.
Actually, in the movie, I left that open for you to decide who really hired him, because Robert Kardashian hired the first guy.
Right. Okay. And the first guy is a guy named William Waz, correct?
That's correct.
Now, when I first heard the William Waz story, I was fascinated by it. Why don't you give us a rundown of the entire William Waz story there?
Well, William Waz was actually arrested driving Paula Barbera's car, and he admitted that, but he came forward and said he's not the one who killed Nicole. It was somebody else. He didn't do it. He wanted the world to know that he was innocent. But everything he had said in his testimony, because he gave a testimony, appeared to be true. So I couldn't, he was arrested before he finished the job. They had to hire somebody new to finish the job. He actually got into an accident in Paula Barbera's car with a crack pipe, Nicole's book on where she was, all her whereabouts, and a .22 caliber pistol. And he said that Robert Kardashian told him where to get the car, and you really got to watch the movie and read the book to get all the details on that mess.
Well, the part of my audience that would be familiar with the William Waz name is right with you, okay? Now, from my understanding, though, wasn't William Waz pretty much debunked because the lawyer who was peddling this story had his own problems?
No, he was never debunked. They just that's how they just squashed it, sort of like you see debunked now in the news. I mean, no, he had never been debunked because, just think logically, it was in the newspaper. They took pictures of him driving Paula Barbera's car. How could you debunk that?
Well, no, he was convicted of that part. He was convicted of that, and he had Nicole's notebook. We have that, but then
yeah. So if you have that, you have the whole story. I mean, there's no way you could say that the rest of it didn't exist, but that did.
Gotcha.
If you think about it, just think logically. How else would he have got her car, all that, in the same location? I mean, it's just no, it's never been debunked.
Okay. Now, there was another fellow, too.
Actually, it's been proven correct because of the fact that he was arrested with everything.
And he's dead today now, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And how did he die?
Well, they said he committed suicide. He shot himself twice in the head with a shotgun.
Okay. Did he have any other kind of criminal problems by the time, in between this stolen car incident and the time he died? Do you know?
He had a lot of problems before that. That's why they had to give him the car, because he couldn't get his own car. He didn't have a car.
And you believe it was Kardashian who was behind hiring that's what Wall said, at least, right? Wall said.
That's what Waz says.
Gotcha. Now, but what was the motive then for Mr. Kardashian wanting to kill Ron and Nicole?
All I can get out of it is when O.J. broke, they had an affair with Kris Jenner.
Right.
Remember, and he broke her vagina or whatnot in the jacuzzi, and Robert had to take her to the hospital, and their relationships all broke up. You have to go through the book and get the details on all that mess. It's like I say, there's so much. It was such a mess.
No, it is. It's a complicated story, and I've done interviews on here that went on for 5 hours. Okay, talking about OJ in one sitting. So there's a ton of stuff here. Now, in your film, "Who Really Killed Nicole," and in your book by Simon and Schuster, "Who Really Killed Nicole," you can find that at ojtapes.com is one of the websites. It goes way back to the 911 call, where OJ is stomping around the home there, and Nicole's on the phone with 911. And you can hear, and I've asked many people about this. As a matter of fact, I just had Pat McKenna on the show, and I was asking him about this. OJ's screaming in the background about Heidi Fleiss girls, right? What is all that about?
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Well, there was a lot of prostitutes hanging around at the house, along with drug dealers. That was one of OJ's biggest things. He wanted them to stop. Mm. So he felt he could do it on his own, but that was a mistake.
And the thing was, another part of your story here is that Nicole had those photographs of bruises to her face, and she was using those to kind of influence OJ into paying her drug debts?
Well, I've never known a woman yet to have pictures of herself all beat up inside of a safe deposit box and not use them for something. Mm. If you think about it, why else would you have it in there? How many wives do you know have that?
Are you familiar with the book by Jeffrey Felix, Guarding the Juice?
No.
Oh, really? Okay, because I had him on the show too as well, and his theory is almost identical to yours. He says that OJ told him over there in Lovelock that two drug dealers show up at the house that night. They wanted him to pay for Nicole's debts. He said no. They went over to Nicole's, and OJ followed them over, and I guess ran around in the blood and took off. But similar again to this new story going around right now of this drug debt.
There was a lot of drug debt, but the drug debt wasn't the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem was just the dealers and prostitutes hanging around with his kids. Mm. I think that was the biggest problem he was having. Okay. He wanted it stopped. He said that on the tapes.
Right. We can hear him saying that. Right. Now the thing is then, so then the theory is that either he or Kardashian hired William Waz to do the hit of Nicole?
The first one, yes.
Okay, and then he got arrested for the stolen car, having a little car accident there, right? And then how did they find this Glenn Rogers then?
Glenn Rogers already worked for the feds. He was an informant, so it would have had to be somebody that was connected to the police, maybe a possible attorney. That's why I'm thinking Robert probably first found him. I don't think OJ would have known to find him. But he was a painter, and he was painting Nicole's house, and we have all the documents backing up, all of that. It's all inside the movie. I mean, we have everything down to his rent receipts where he was renting in his phone records. I mean, I've got everything. Okay, and both the film and the book are called Who Really Killed Nicole. You could find it at whoreallykillednicole.com. So then what kind of proof, lay it out for us, what kind of proof do you have that he's actually the guy in there painting Nicole's house? We got a letter from his boss that said he missed work because his roof fell on him the day of the murders. Okay. So that proved he was a painter, and everybody else knew he was a painter. And he was working with Nicole. That was sort of a given. That was already there. So it's a given that he was working for Nicole because he says so, or there's some other corroborating evidence? A lot of other people said that he was working for Nicole. Gotcha. Painting our house and fixing up stuff around there, et cetera. And we had, even the witness we had said that he was with Nicole, sitting right there. He was on one side, and Nicole and Dodi Fayed was on the other. Yeah, Dodi Fayed, and I had never heard his name. That's Princess Di's. No, she wasn't princess at that point, but Princess Diana, her new boyfriend was Dodi Fayed. And how does he fit into all this? I think that it was just a use of his plane to go back and forth and pick up drugs. Really? Because in that meeting, the one witness that's on the tapes there said that she said that she had to go north, I think it was to Washington or something, and pick up a load of drugs. And she said it out right there at the party. And the other lady was all upset about that because she said, I didn't get into all of that. I didn't like her talking so loud. Everybody could hear that there was bringing in drugs. I've honestly believed that the drug dealer that O.J. was always looking for was right there in front of him all along.
And you think it was Nicole?
Yeah, I think between the prostitutes at the house and the drug dealers coming and going, Ron didn't have enough money to pay for that kind of drugs.
Yeah, certainly not that kind of weight. Now, we've had other guests on here, too, that speculated that Ron could have been some kind of small-time drug dealer and was an informant for the police.
I think he was a small-time drug dealer and just was working with her. He would go by there, pick up what he needs, and deliver it.
Gotcha. Okay, right. So instead of delivering drugs to her that night, he could have been picking up drugs from her that night to go and deliver to his smaller clients. That makes that's a new wrinkle in all this, too, that I've never considered. Now, one thing, too, I discovered...
Well, you got to understand, he was on the way to the marina when he left her house. He already had a meeting at midnight.
Do we know who that meeting was with?
Two guys, and he mentions them. It's in some of the transcripts. I think it's in the movie. I'm not for certain.
Gotcha. And once again, the movie is called Who Really Killed Nicole. You can find it at whoreallykillednicole.com. Now, also something that I learned today from your film was that he didn't have a car there that night.
No.
So how did he get there?
That's why I think the person, Glenn Rogers, I think, picked him up, took him there. And then when he went through the gate, O.J. was already inside the gate. Glenn walked in behind him, and that's when everything went wrong.
Now, you said when O.J. heard this book was coming out, that's when you two had a falling out?
We had a falling out when he found out that I was talking with Glenn Rogers.
Oh, really? Okay. So now you talked with Glenn.
As soon as I gave him that letter from Glenn Rogers, he got mad and said, I told you to stay away from that guy, and that was that.
Now, this is...
O.J. doesn't want anybody to know that he knows anything.
This is a letter that you received directly from Glenn Rogers.
Yes, that's correct.
And what does he say in that letter?
In the movie, the whole letter.
And what does he say in that letter?
I don't have it in front of me, but basically he's apologizing to O.J. for what happened to Nicole.
And there's other writings from Glenn Rogers, too, where he actually takes his shoe print and matches it to the Bruno Mali's as well. Now...
Yes, and our witness said that he was wearing an Italian shoe when she saw him with Jody Fayed.
Now, this witness you have here, right? Back to the witness for a second. If she did reveal her name, would this be a name that people would recognize?
Probably, because she was a model.
Okay, so this would be someone we would know, and you say that she doesn't want to use her real name because she's afraid. She's afraid of O.J. and his friends.
Well, there's still a lot of dealers out there, et cetera. A lot of people that was involved.
Gotcha. Okay, but and they wouldn't recognize her voice and her way of speaking. They wouldn't be able to identify her.
She wasn't that worried about that. She was more worried about getting it off her mind. She kept crying.
Gotcha. Okay, now, have you ever spoken on the phone with Glenn Rogers or went to visit him in prison?
I think briefly on the phone, and it's mainly letters.
Mainly letters. Okay, so then what is he saying now today? Has he followed up on any of this information? Has he seen your book?
He saw my movie, and he asked, his son called me and said, my dad wants to know who told you what happened that night because he didn't tell anybody. So I got a call from Glenn Rogers' son who said that his dad said everything the way I said it is the way it happened, and he wanted to know how I knew.
Okay, well, that's a good sign. All right, okay.
And I'm still in touch with his son.
So now, you tell O.J., hey, look, O.J., I got this letter from Glenn Rogers. He's confessing to the crime. And O.J. tells you, I don't want any part of that. Stay away from that guy.
Exactly, when he should have told me, oh, my God, that's great.
But the other thing is, too, is
That's what made me upset.
You had all kind of business entanglements with OJ and contracts and stuff like that, I'm sure. But that just ended all communication and all relationship that day?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
The contract's still good, but other than that, I didn't want to talk to him.
Gotcha. So neither one of you were interested in enforcing the contracts and doing further business?
No.
Okay. But then when you had this book celebration party, something happened to cause you to fall ill and be taken to the emergency room.
I didn't fall ill. I died.
You died, right?
They had to bring me back, defibrillate me and everything. I died for 7 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was just standing there. Right after I got done eating, I stood up and just dropped dead.
Anybody else get sick there around you or anything like that?
Nope, I'm the only one in the entire place.
Okay, very interesting. We're talking today with Norman Pardo, who was friends and worked with OJ for many, many years. He's written a book called Who Really Killed Nicole, and there's also a documentary film that he produced and created called Who Really Killed Nicole. You can find that at whoreallykillednicole.com and also ojtapes.com. They both go to the same place because he's releasing all these home videos he did with OJ out there on the road in hotel rooms. Hey, what are we going to find on those tapes that you're releasing right now?
Just everything crazy that OJ, the craziest stuff OJ would come out of his mouth is amazing. And you're going to see him do some of the stupidest stuff. So it's just OJ basically off the chain.
Does he talk at all about that craziness in the hotel room there in Las Vegas?
No, he doesn't. Maybe at the end that'll come out. But that was stupid.
Do you think Dodi Fayed was aware? Dodi Fayed was aware that they were using his plane to carry contraband?
I doubt it. I don't really know. That part I don't know, so we didn't dig into that much. All I knew is the one witness said she was using his plane to go up north and pick up something and was proud about it. That's all we know from that. But everybody knows he loved women and partying, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
That part I didn't follow up on because it wasn't that important.
Gotcha. Now, since the release of the book and the movie, have you been contacted by any other insiders who said, oh, boy, Norman, you really got it right? Or, hey, Norman, you got this part wrong?
I've been contacted by a lot of people. The movie's been seen more than, I don't even know how many millions of hits that thing has had. So everything is, a lot of people are contacting me. And a lot of them feel that that's the direct, it's right. Some people have a couple of things that they say, well, I think this was this or that. But they're little things. And that's expected.
Sure.
I want people to pick my stuff apart. I want them to ask questions.
Now, have you heard from OJ since the book came out?
No, I'm not going to hear from him. He may hear from me someday, but I'm not going to hear from him once I find out what happened to me.
Oh, that. Yeah, right, yeah. Okay. Now, recently in the past in the past few months, I'm sure you're aware of it, the whole story about Charlie and the script being shopped around, and now there's a lawsuit over that. I'm sure you've heard that, sir. What do you make of all that?
It's just somebody trying to make more money. Basically, that's it.
It does sort of kind of dovetail along with some of your stuff. It goes into a drug debt.
Well, that's because everybody knows that they were all doing drugs back then. So you can pretty much throw a drug bit into anything and call it that. Nobody has ever done the investigation I have. Nobody's put up $1 million of their own money and done it. I'm the only one.
And what was this? What were you seeking for the $1 million?
The truth. I wanted to know what happened. It started that way and it ended that way. That's what I told everybody when I first started. I said, I'm after just the truth. If OJ did it, he did it. If he didn't do it, he didn't do it. But I want the truth. No more of this, okay, this story and that story, and this guy did it and that guy did it. There was so many made-up, make-believe stories out there. And you can make anybody look like they did it if you work hard enough at it. I had to debunk all those. That was the problem, is I had to go through each and every one of them and make sure that that wasn't true before I could move to the next one.
Well, there's been some very credible investigation, Mr. Whitehurst, Dr. Whitehurst, about the EDTA being in the blood, and some blood samples are planted. What do you make of all that?
I believe it was planted.
By the police?
I don't have a problem with that. It was planted by somebody. I'm not going to say the police, but, they had it. So I guess that they would have been the one that would have put it out there. I don't know if anybody else running around with OJ's blood in it. The only blood that I think was really his blood was the one on the gate, because I think what happened was when Glenn Rogers was going through the gate behind Ron, OJ, Ron, and him got into a fight. Ron cut OJ first. OJ ran, just like Glenn said. And then he would have probably pushed the gate open with a bloody hand. And that's why the blood was on the gate.
Gotcha.
And he didn't stick around for the fight. He don't know how the fight ended. That's the irony of the whole thing, is OJ didn't even know anybody was killed until he was already, gone. And
you believe that Glenn Rogers went back and planted the glove at OJ's place?
Yes, he said it because he wasn't going to, in his own words, he said that N-word wasn't going to leave him holding the bag. And he went and threw the glove over the fence. And then he said he got mad after thinking about it, and he called Nicole up and told her he had some nose sugar for her, and went back to Nicole's house 2 hours later, and that's when he killed her, when she came to the door with the money. They were killed 2 hours from each other.
Get out of it. Oh, wait, I've never heard that before. I've never heard anybody suggest that before. Well, then how could that be? Nicole didn't hear this big fight going with guys getting stabbed and killed in her doorstep?
Nope, because that was on the other end of the house. If you look at where the fight was versus where she would have been, it was totally opposite ends of it.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So you believe that the second murder took place 2 hours later?
Yes, that's why the police said the ice cream was still melting when they got there at midnight. So we did a little test on the ice cream, found out ice cream melts, I think, in 45 minutes. So whoever put that on the banister was alive at 11.
Okay, that's fast. I never heard that. I have to take a good look at that. You also make a lot of Rob Kardashian and the golf clubs. What do you think was going on there?
All I know is OJ said the golf clubs was worth more than my house when he left them in Chicago.
He said that to you?
So obviously there was something in the golf clubs that was a big value.
Okay.
That's why you never saw those golf clubs. So who knows? Could they have been shipping stuff back and forth in the golf clubs?
And it does turn out that Rob Kardashian, there was a plea deal where he was going to plead to, what would you call it, tampering with evidence or an accessory after the fact to some, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know all the details on that. I can't remember.
Right. Okay, so I think, is there anything I haven't asked you about this whole story here, who really killed Nicole, that you want the audience to know?
I think that I just hope that they read the book, and I hope they get out of the book what I left them. I left them a lot of clues. I didn't give them the answer. I want them to get it. But I think they're going to find out that what I've done is what happened. It's solved.
I think
that there.
Do you have any plans on further contact with Glenn Rogers, like going down to visit him, tape recording him?
I want to work with his son because I still have some records of his on where he buried other bodies, and we're going to go dig up some of the other bodies.
Gotcha. Okay, well, at least I have that to look forward to, right? That'll be a lot of fun. Once again,
I hate to say it, it's sad, but I want to end those. In the documents we ended up with, I got a lot of Social Security numbers, birth dates, and all the stuff on some of his other victims, along with personal letters on where he put them, where they're buried at.
Gotcha. Okay,
so we're going to go final some of that out as well.
We've been talking to Norman Pardo, who wrote the book Who Really Killed Nicole. So, Norman, what would you like to leave us with?
Read the book, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions, there's a place you can get in touch with me right there on the website.
Okay, excellent. So you can go to whoreallykillednicole.com. You can send Norman Pardo a note. OJTapes.com is going to be, they're going to have some membership possibilities there. We can watch all these behind-the-scenes videos with O.J. Simpson and Norman Pardo and all their adventures there. Norman Pardo, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good night. Thank you very much.